Hello. Hello, 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 hello. And the cats are investigating because the cats are always investigating. Hello, my son. Would you like to come say hello to the camera? Because this is who you are and this is what you like to do is you like the attention. Nope, okay, never mind. I do somewhat enjoy finding little discarded cat claws. The little shedded cat claws. Because I'm like, I never know quite what I'm going to use these for. I did use these for one thing, actually. Hey, Christina. Hey, Kayla. Hi. How's everybody doing? I just, like, yeah, I don't know if you can even see this, but just the little discarded, like, claw shed bits are so fun to me because I'm like, you don't need this anymore. This is not, like, oh, you lost your... Thank you, Christina. I feel honored. I very much appreciate it. I have not been keeping up with the Eurovision. I'm sure I will hear all of the highlights at the end. Is it over? I literally don't even know. That's a very American thing to say, I guess. So many people love Eurovision. I'm like, I have no idea. But I did, regardless, I did use the little shedded cat claw bits in a protection spell one time, and it was a protection spell, but also it was sort of more of a talisman for one of my guides. Wow, it was a bit because I've talked about him before. He's not actually a guide. It is an animal spirit. It's a big cat. I like cats. I keep the cats. So I did a whole little jar spell talisman thing for that entity using the cat claws, some black salt, I think, so a couple other things. I still have it somewhere. Oh no, I didn't put black salt in that one. I put black salt in a different one. I made a lot of that whole trip that y'all will have heard about from when I went to New Orleans with everybody, all that. I made way more stuff than I needed to for that trip. So one of those things was that sort of protective talisman of that entity that I have that relationship with. I also made one for Apollo that I still use sometimes, and that I use as my I use that as my pendulum instead of like using. I actually have like a nice crystal, like rose quartz pendulum that I love, that I bought in Virginia during Sacred Spaces 1. But I did not, like, I just don't always have it with me, and for some reason, whenever I've needed a pendulum, I've had the little Apollo jar charm talisman thing, and he's also the god of divination, so I just use that as my pendulum, which I love. I very much love that. Hi, Gibson. How you doing? Finishing up dying session. Enjoy. No, use the pain relief sigil. I know you've got ways of relieving your pain without needing the sigil, since you literally helped me make it. But I'm just saying. I thought about if I wanted to talk about like just energy work type stuff today or not. I don't think I'm going to go all in on that, but that was just one of the things, because as y'all know, these are always, if I come in with a plan, the plan messes with the flow. So whatever comes up and comes out of my mouth is what we're talking about. So I immediately before starting, I started thinking about like energy work and stuff, because we did that a few weeks ago where I did the sort of like little meditation with everybody. And we did that like sort of chakra clearing style meditation thing that I do love to do. Honestly, the vibe right now is I might want to just talk through that again really quickly, because I think I talked through it last time, but I think I was modifying it so much that it started to get a little bit jumbled, and I feel like I could actually benefit from doing that. So it's just a nice little cleansing thing. So like, fuck it, why not? Let's go ahead and give her a shot. So this is not a thing that I learned, well, technically I learned it from a Reiki teacher. Have I told the story of my first Reiki teacher and how Kayla, I know you know, but I don't know if I've actually talked about this. The first guy that I learned Reiki from was through like a membership that I had with a different program that was very like chaos magic based. And so he was just like, he was freely offering as like part of this program of like, everybody come and take Reiki 1 from me, like it's covered, you know, him and the guy who like was running the program were buds. So I was like, all right, sick. I've wanted to look into Reiki, and this was like 5 years ago. No, it was like 3.5, maybe 4. So I that's roughly, I was like, I've been interested in Reiki, but I don't know anything. So he did half of the class kind of legit, and then he just fully went off the rails and was like, so all of these things about like Reiki tradition and all that stuff, those don't actually matter that much. So here's what you can do instead. And the people in the chat were like, thank you, sir, for teaching us jailbreaky instead of Reiki. And like, I was like, I kind of would have liked to learn like the formal proper way, but you know, this is it was like a 2-hour workshop to get Reiki 1, and then he started teaching us some stuff out of Reiki 2, and then he suddenly just taught us a Reiki master symbol that we were not supposed to have. That was a wild time. I had been doing energy work and like energy healing stuff that wasn't Reiki already before that. But that's technically when I got my Reiki 1 like attunement to technically have the thing with the whatever. I forget how to phrase that all properly. So that was my chaotic introduction into Reiki as an energy healing system by not actually following any of the rules. Hey, it was entertaining, and I did learn stuff, but it was very much, there was like sort of a rote way of teaching Reiki that like he learned from a teacher, but essentially out of a book. And so he was like, so this is what I was taught, and this is what you're supposed to teach, but also this is boring and you don't have to do it, and so do this instead. And I was really like, are we learning Reiki, or are we just like flying by the seat of our pants? Because there is a system here, and I happen to know that there's a system, and I just don't know the system to know how much of what you're teaching us is good and how much of what you're teaching us is like bad, you know? It was fine. We survived. Nobody blew up as far as I know. But it was like in the vein of the like, of course everything had to be as chaotic as possible. I went from knowing 0 Reiki to being attuned to Reiki 1, learning symbols from Reiki 2, and having a Reiki master symbol in 2 hours. That was a weird time. That was a weird day. So regardless, that is actually that's actually the guy that I learned this like energy clearing technique from. But I like this technique, and it is actually useful. So yeah, we're going to run through it really quickly again in its sort of original form, where it's the like, so you breathe into a chakra, right? Again, I've gone on my rant about the 7 chakra system. It doesn't matter. It does work. It's fine. So you breathe into a chakra. So if you're doing like crown chakra, breathe energy down from above, Reiki specifically in the case, but like, you know, whatever you're using. Breathe the energy in, breathe the energy out radially, out in a circle, breathe the energy back in again, and then breathe the energy down and out through the root, right? So you do that with every single point of like crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, is that one? I'm forgetting. Wow, and then root. I think I did that right. So yeah. You can tell how much I use the 7 chakra thing in everyday life. I don't, but it's fine. So that feels like a good little clearing exercise to start the live with. We're 10 minutes in, but we're starting the live with this. So obviously y'all don't have to do this with me, but I'm gonna do it because I feel like I would benefit from it, and that's what this is. Is I do whatever I'm doing and y'all can do whatever you like. Okay, so I'm gonna breathe into the crown chakra from up above down here. Out. In. Down and out. Same thing, third eye, down and in, out, in, out, throat, down, in, out, in, out. So I do normally sort of condense this whole exercise, but it feels good to go through all the steps today. So going now for the heart, so down and in, out, in, out. And I would be using both hands to illustrate, but there's a cat on one of them, so I cannot. Okay, solar plexus, down, in, out, in, down, out. I'm actually going to do that one again because that's feeling a little wonky. Oh, you used it. That's lovely, Christine. I'm glad it's helping you. I'm going to do that. So, solar plexus again. Out. In. Down. Better. So yeah, sometimes I do have times where I don't fully release everything. I just need to run it through again. Okay, so sacral, out, in, out, down, and root, and then we'll be done. Down, in, radial out, radial in, down, out. Okay, good. Yeah, I like it because, so we've talked before about how, I sometimes just don't do clearing as part of, my energy hygiene because I'm at the point where, if I'm grounding, I'm simultaneously clearing and I'm not even really thinking about it. It's just sort of, programmed into my methods and how I do things. But it's good to clear. It's useful. It's a nice thing. So on those days when I feel like I really need something extra, I'll do the shorter version of that, the one that I did the other day, where I'll do, either 1, 2, 3 of, head, heart, gut, or I will just do everything in one. And I'm not saying that doing everything in one is better. I am saying that's what I tend to do. So, but it's a really nice step-by-step sort of combination with a body scan meditation of a clearing, right? So we're if you're using fucking Headspace or something, right? Or any of these, I use Insight Timer sometimes if I want a guided meditation. And so many of those will take you through a body scan as part of that mindfulness practice and that getting into your body part of your meditation. And I love that. That's super useful. I don't really do that ever when I'm actually meditating. Because I'm usually, frankly, I'm not meditating the way that's being taught there, right? I'm not really meditating I'm trying to be mindful. I am being mindful while meditating, again, because it's kind of ingrained, but that's not my goal. My goal when meditating is usually either just to calm down, which is fine, or to ground more, get more into my body, or to get ready to do magical workings, right? Magical workings make it sound more pretentious, but you guys know what I mean. Or astral or whatever. So what I'm actually actively doing a body scan and actively clearing that way, it is way more thorough. It's way more ultimately effective, honestly. and it makes me feel good. So I had the feeling that I needed that. I figured I wanted to run through the step by step after sort of rushing through it the other day. So hopefully that was useful for you guys. It's really nice to hear that like you've been using that technique, Christina, because I really do love that one. Like that's one of those things. I love learning from other people. I don't always retain everything, right? Because not everything works for everybody. I'm heavy believer on that part, right? Like sometimes the things just don't resonate, even if they're like true. And you know, there's a level of mindfulness and respect for like if you're learning a new thing and you're really trying to find something and like take in all the good parts and you see it as a whole practice and a unified thing. That's lovely. It doesn't always stick, right? So like this is just one of those things that like I like sharing that one because that's one of those things that really stuck for me, and so it's just nice to hear that you're using it. So regardless, I've had a couple of other random floaty spiritual thoughts that I figured I'd just throw out there. First of all, I don't know how the energy comes across for you guys when I have different deity candles lit. I do sort of like, I usually have the same few. I usually have the same few lit. It's usually Hermes, Apollo, and lately it's been Odin as well. I don't have Odin's lit today. Odin still doesn't really have an altar space. Odin's just here. I mean, like, Hermes' altar space is part of the desk, right? And Hecate's is part of the desk. Odin's just is this candle, to be to be frank. But that's fine, because again, we're not even, like, working together. We're just doing whatever we're doing. So, today I only have Hermes' candle lit, and to be 100% real, it's because I sat down and got ready for the live and realized nobody's candle was lit, and I was like, oh shit, I need to light Hermes' candle, and that was the only one that I felt compelled to light. I didn't feel compelled to light Odin's, and I didn't feel compelled to get up and get Apollo's, so... And I'm like, I don't think he's too jealous, because I get... Apollo and I have our weekly private meetings, so I don't think he's too jealous I'm missing out on the live today. But also, he can just do whatever he wants, right? He's a god. He does not need me to light the candle for him to know that he's welcome here. I am only technically a like devotee of two deities, and it's Apollo and Aphrodite. It's like they both know what's up. They both know they're invited anytime. Hermes, I have to keep a slightly closer eye on. Odin just has a chair in your room. Nice. He really is. I don't know if. Oh no, what's his? Did he? I was gonna shout out Camden again. Can't, but I don't know. He changed his @ and I don't remember what he changed it to. But he posted a TikTok the other day about like Odin, and I was like, "This is so perfect. This is so the exact vibe." I'm not gonna look it up right now, but this is so the exact vibe that I get from Odin. Of just like he's just the weird old wizardy, like looking ass guy. Like he's. I know. I've been doting on Odin a little bit because I'm just still amused by the fact that he wants to hang around as much as he does. Like I realized I've spent time on the previous 3 lives, I think, all just doing like so Odin's like this, and it's because I'm like I don't work with him, so it's funny to me when he does kind of just want to hang out, but I appreciate it, and I'm like at some point we're gonna do something, and that's gonna be just fine, you know. Just imagining Hermes singing "Light My." Light my candle from Rent. And he would. And I believe it. I can very much see Hermes getting all up in that. Cause and what else are we expecting? I'm sorry, I'm getting bugged by my own little cloth is like slightly lopsided. It's fine. I will ignore it. I will do my best to ignore it. Would you light my candle? Yeah, anyway. The singing copyrighted music over non-copyrighted lo-fi, I'm sure, is just an experience for everybody. But yeah, no, it really was. It was just like, Hermes was the only one who seemed like he needed it lit, so I just lit his, and it's fine. I'm sure Odin would. But again, it's like, in the same way that Apollo kind of just can just hang out here, and that's fine. Like, Odin can kind of also just hang out here, and that's fine. Like, he's not, doesn't have free reign. As long as I know he's here, it's fine. But it is, yeah, it's a good time for all. It's a good time for all. Okay, can I talk about Hades? Yes, I can talk about Hades. I met him recently. Hades is such an interesting guy. First of all, king. And he won't let you forget it. He's king of the underworld. He's not, like, he's like, I ain't got that big seat up in Olympus, but I got it down here, and he will remind you. Seriously, he's pretty serious, he's pretty blunt most of the time. He does have a sense of humor. He's probably not gonna use it all the time. Like, if you get a Hades joke, you've done something good, and that's or at least he just generally likes you. He is one of those entities that tends to be again, keep in mind, this is the way that I describe my relationship with Hades is I work for Hades. I don't work with Hades. Like, I have my job in the underworld that is not directly under his jurisdiction. Like, I technically have a boss who is like a guy, an entity to an entity to an entity, right? Like, this is not, but so my relationship to Hades might be a little bit different than some other people's, but he's very business oriented a lot of the time, frankly, because there's a lot of business to get done. There are people in the underworld who do not and have not done their jobs and do continue to not do their jobs. Things that just need to get fixed that are kind of fucky. Like, the underworld is not in disarray. It's fine. But it's not, like, dissimilar to up here, right? So he's got a lot of administrative stuff to take on at all times. He is one of those entities. I don't invite him to hang out. And that's not because I don't like him. It is because he has a vibe. I'm making light of it a little bit, but truly, if I were to talk about, like, archetypes of deities and entities and things, obviously Hades is not Saturn. Like, Hades is closer to Pluto, but Hades is very Saturnian. He's not slow moving in the way that Saturnian things are necessarily, but he's, like, broad reaching, governing, cold, sort of a cold approach to things. Very good guy to have on your side, let me tell you. Great to be on Hades' good side. Yeah, the dynamic is just very, like, he's a very strong presence, and frankly, if he's around, he's probably looking to be your primary point of attention, which is, again, part of why I'm, like, not really inviting him to, like, hang out when I have candles lit for other gods. And, like, even when I say, like, gods are, like, hanging out, right, like, Apollo's generally not literally in my room, right? Like, that's not really a thing that happens particularly often. But it's just, like, the sort of consciousness is around and is here, and the vibe is here, the energy is present, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about gods hanging out. I have had times when I've been, like, physically, spiritually, like, in proximity to, like, Hades' like, stronger emanations, and they're always intense. Frankly, I don't even have a Hades altar right now. I had one for a long time. The thing that used to be Hades' altar is still a little bit of, like, a thing, but it's not technically an altar right now. And it's just, frankly, because his energy's a lot. And I'm like, I can deal with you at work without having a very strict worship part of this for me personally. Obviously, I know plenty of people who do work closely with him. Again, I just, like, I'm just used to him in his more governing related state. It is interesting to mention, right? So I said he's technically closer to Pluto. Pluto as an archetype in astrology, right, has a lot to do with like digging deep, like sort of hard truths. It is also very cold, but it's much more like where like Scorpio, right, gets its associations with, in traditional astrology, it gets its associations from Mars, and in modern astrology, it gets them from Pluto. That same sharpness that Scorpios have, and that same like pointedness, is there regardless of whether you're talking about Scorpio in a Mars sense or Scorpio in a Pluto sense. So like there is this digging deep excavation kind of energy to Pluto. Hades is not directly Pluto. Pluto, I think technically the Roman guy's name was Pluton or something, or there's like a separate. I forget all the mythology and all of the lore. There's I think Pluto and Pluton are two different gods. I think that's what it is. And again, it's mythology. Your mileage may vary, but like, so when people think about Pluto as having like riches and wealth and all those things, I think that's technically Pluton, but there's some level of like shared archetypal stuff going on there. So like you'll get some feedback, you'll get some input, you'll get some stuff there, but don't go asking Hades to give you $50, right? Like, he will. Hello, Becca. How you doing? Yeah, I'm just talking about like Hades and Pluto and all of that stuff, right? So, this association with like any association with Hades and money is this sort of junction point between the association of Pluto and money, or Pluton, and the general association, right, with coins and money as like transactional things in the underworld, right? Thank you. I knew it was something like that. Pluton was an epithet used for Hades. Thank you. But is also the name of a minor deity. I knew you'd know. I was like, I can't look it up right now, or I'll just be sitting here for 10 minutes while I dig into the details. I appreciate that. But yeah, so regardless, the point that I'm trying to make is that there is a stronger association, because it is. So Pluton was an epithet in the Greek, but there is a Roman Pluton. I'm pretty sure. I digress. I should stop talking if I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure that's the breakdown. So the money part is this Roman entity, is what I'm trying to say. So there's some of that. Some people think about Hades and think about money, and that's sort of crossed wire stuff. So that is my understanding, at the very least. Christina, is there anything specific that you wanted me to talk about Hades, or just the vibes? Yeah, I was like, I think we've sort of run the gambit. I mean, we can. Yeah, I was like, I could talk more about just general experiences with him, but I think that synthesis will probably get us the best track on it. But yeah, I hope that helped. I hope that. Hello, Lid. How you doing? Everybody's here. I am. Becca, did you have Scorpio related questions based off of anything that I said? I know you came in at the exact moment that was the Scorpio moment. Can Lid not see us? Is that what's happening? What's going on here? Can everybody else see me? What's happening? Huh? Just the vibe. Story when it stopped by was hilarious, but yeah. No, my opinion of Hades is high. My opinion is just also that I don't necessarily let him hang out in my house because he's so authoritarian, which is fine. Gotcha. I see what's okay. Yeah, I mean, I too am a proud Scorpio. I love the Scorpio. I love my Scorpiosity. I couldn't avoid it if I tried. I have talked. I I've used it in like I'll go in deep on Scorpio shit in just like generic conversations with people who do not have. No, I got you. I on conversations of people that like are not astrology people, are not even really spiritual people, and I'll just go in on the like. There was someone that I was texting, so we like sort of dated for a minute, and I was just like, me over here with my like Scorpio skull looking ass, and just like, what? I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense to you. Oops. So yeah, Scorpio, death, skulls, archetypes, Scorpio rising. We have talked about this where like I know some people have said that they don't resonate with the thing of like you have visual characteristics related to your rising sign. As a Scorpio sun and rising, I feel like I look very Scorpio-y, personally. But that's just one of those things where I'm like, I ain't gonna tell you, if you're a Sagittarius rising and you don't feel like you look like a Sagittarius rising, I'm not gonna tell you you don't look like you don't. Yeah. You guys know what I mean. I'm a Scorpio moon. Do I get membership now? Yes, you do. I will say the interesting thing about Scorpio moons. So the moon is actually, oh shit, is it in fall or is it in detriment? I think the moon is in fall in Scorpio. The moon does not like being in Scorpio. If you have just general, wait, I thought I was a Scorpio. Christina, what do you mean you thought you were a Scorpio? Are you not a Scorpio? What are you? Or where? How were you? How did you think you were a Scorpio, and how are you actually? I'm intrigued and confused. Yeah, so you do live as a Scorpio moon. You do get membership to the club. Welcome, welcome. I will honestly. I like shouting out Scorpio a little bit extra because there's that general stereotype against Scorpio, right? And the same way that there's a general stereotype against Gemini and so on and so forth. Where I have many Gemini friends and many Scorpio friends and like we get a bad rap, but we're not that bad, I promise. So I just throw out a little extra pride on it. But yeah, so Scorpio moon, if you have if you ever feel extra tense in those sort of like lunar emotional states, where that like the emotions are kind of like all or nothing kind of deal, like that might be something I would associate with a Scorpio moon placement, which is like not the most fun manifestation of Scorpio, unfortunately, but it does count. And it doesn't mean, anytime that I'm talking about astrology stuff, just because Scorpio or the moon is in fall in Scorpio, doesn't mean that like your moon placement is bad. It just means that like, it just means that there are some hardships in relation to what the moon is trying to do and the placement that you have, but like, it's not like a bad thing. It's how it's been your entire life. It's how it will continue to be. You find your own ways of working with it and working around it, etc., etc. It's okay. October 23rd, baby. Isn't, because that's the cutoff, right? Because I'm October 25th. So I'm like, October 23rd, I think, is the first day of Scorpio, isn't it? It depends on your calendar. Falls on the 23rd, or it's Libra. Yeah. Virgo moon, but Scorpio sun. Yeah. I do love a Virgo. I also hate a Virgo sometimes. And that's no shade at whatsoever. Virgo's such, like, the way that other people feel about Gemini is kind of the way that I feel about Virgo, where first of all, I'm doing that thing that people do where, like, I dated a Sagittarius and they were the worst, so now I hate Sagittarius and I will never date another Sagittarius. I dated a Virgo for like 4.5 years on and off. It was a long story. Great person, not a good relationship. Not an awful relationship. It was fine. It was not like abusive or anything. It was just normal. But it was not. Didn't work. But so that's just one of those things where I have that like funny association personally with Virgo forever. And I have Like, people talk about, like, Scorpio women are great, but Scorpio men suck, or Gemini men, or whatever. Like, way too much pushing your gender bullshit on people for my tastes. But I know what people mean when they say that. But, like, just to jump into that stereotype for a second, because I kind of think it's funny. I have a friend who I really like, he's actually, every once in a while he will come in the lives, so you guys have seen him, but it doesn't really matter. But I have a friend who I quite like, who is a Virgo man, who is awesome, super cool dude, super empathetic, super, like, logical, super reasonable, like, just every good thing about a Virgo, this guy is, and I super appreciate him. And then I've known Virgo men, and then there's some Virgo men who were awful, some of the worst people I've ever met. And it's just so funny, because it's like, it's just goes to show you that, like, the way that people use astrology to stereotype people like that is not the way to use astrology, and that's not what's good about it, and that's not what works. Like, you have to use, you are looking at someone's entire chart. If someone is a Virgo sun, you are leaving out so much information. If you are stereotyping somebody based on their sun sign, you are leaving out all the good shit. If you want the tea on people, you can find the tea in their astrological chart. It's in there, but it's not gonna be in their sun sign, or at least not exclusively. It's like, it's just very funny to me how much people get all up about that. And I'm like, that just... The sun sign is not going to tell you as much as you think it is. It's going to tell you some of those core identity traits, right? It's going to tell you some really important shit. But it's not going to tell you the kind of shit that you can be, like, a space racist at people about, right? Like, I hate when people say that about astrology. We're like, astrology is just space racism. I hate that. I think that's a really awful way to describe that. But again, I know what they mean. If you are stereotyping people based on their sun sign, yada 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 yada, I get it. But that's just, like, not what astrology is useful for. That's not that's not how you get the good shit out of astrology. So, I digress. And now I vibe while I read comments. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Virgo moon, yeah. Leo sun, but Capricorn rising. What does that mean about me? Synthesizing both of those things, for some reason, is not happening quickly in my brain. So we know, like, the stereotypes about Leo, so I think I'm going to sort of leave that there, and I'm going to go for your Capricorn rising as my sort of focus here. Oh, wait, this is more fun. Wait. I dated Virgos and the relationships were awful and married a Taurus. Hey, we love a Taurus. So many of my friends are Tauruses, including Kayla. Shout out Kayla, one of my favorite Tauruses in the world. Two of my best friends are Tauruses, and I think that says a lot. We love a Taurus. Anyway, but yes, so Capricorn rising. So rising sign is going to be, right, that first house stuff, and it's going to be, wow, my astrology brain is kicking on like 2 out of 6 cylinders right now. Hold on. So part of the confusion that's happening in my brain right now is, I figure I'll just talk it out loud. So the sun sign is that, like, very core identity, very egoic kind of stuff. But the first house, right, which is where your rising sign is. Your rising sign is actually what is dictating your first house. So all of that is all coming in on your, like, physical body, sort of outward presentation of yourself, right? That, like, mask that you have. Not in the psychological sense, but in that, like, yeah, social mask that you're portraying. So if you're coming off with Capricorn rising, you're gonna come off a little more I'm not going to say strict. You're going to come off a little bit more like librarian strict rather than like, you know. Why can't I like make these metaphors work in my head right now? I will say I have been fighting. I've been fighting the masking, the actual psychological masking for a long time, and I'm starting to try to like do the work to do the unmasking thing, but it's making some of my other thought processes more mixed up because I'm like thinking about them in a different way. It's fine. Whatever, who cares? Yeah. I see. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm getting too caught up in this because I'm like I'd be like astrology. I want to talk astrology, but I'm clearly not in the right headspace right now to get in there for you. I digress. But yes, that. Yeah, I'm you know what, honestly, I'm gonna ground again, and this is not, don't feel bad, this is not you, this is just me being like, I started to have a frustration with myself, within my own little brain thing. That's not y'all's problem. I'm gonna ground for a second, I'll be okay. Yeah. The unmasking thing is a journey. I am my current, instead of finishing my audiobook about fairies that I was listening to, I have instead switched to an unmasking autism audiobook. Which does mean I love a nonfiction audiobook because I love to keep learning. I may not love a psychology nonfiction audiobook that applies directly to me because it means that every time that I'm thinking about it, the book, and I'm listening to the book, I'm having to like actively do the psychological work stuff, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, I do plenty of psychological work. I also had therapy today. I have therapy every Thursday, which is maybe an amusing thing to have therapy in the morning and then do a live at night where I kind of like, I don't really mask for these, but I have to be presentational. So there's a type of masking that I'm doing while also trying to present my genuine self to you guys as much as possible. So the thing about like listening to in my free time this psychology book about unmasking means that I can't like stop thinking about unmasking, and so it does change my thought patterns and like ways that I'm presenting information just a little bit. So yeah, the title is literally called Unmasking Autism. Hold on, it's by like Dr. Devin something. Like I literally, if you Google Unmasking Autism, it should come up. Yeah, first thing, Unmasking Autism: Discovering the New Faces of Neurodiversity by Dr. Devin Price. That's the book. So I'm like an hour and a half into, it's like a 10-hour audiobook. Yeah, it's helping, but it's also like I might need a second audiobook. I've been honestly, what I've actually been doing is I've been listening to a lot more podcasts in place of that. Some of my normal audiobook time is now replaced by podcast time, just so I can decompress a little bit more. Yeah, psych appointment today, talking about these making stuff. Nice. Yeah, I love my therapist because she's chill about it whenever I talk about the spiritual stuff, and she like understands. I didn't actually, this was an accident. My therapist, like, she's, I guess technically a counselor. I don't know if like you have to be a psychologist to be a therapist or whatever. She does therapy. I go to therapy with her. But one of her masters is specifically a master's of divinity for like spiritual counseling stuff. But and I didn't know that when I started in therapy with her, because normally people like that are Christian based, right? Because it's just what happens. But I honestly don't know if she's Christian based or not, because it's never come up. She doesn't push it. I love that. She listens to everything I have to say about my spiritual stuff, and like totally just understands and takes it in. And like even if she's really truly curious, she might ask me a question, because like obviously like that's not what my therapy sessions are for. But like sometimes they'll say something really interesting. She's like, wait, okay, hold on, you gotta tell me more about this first. But yeah, it's really nice when your mental health professionals understand that like spirituality stuff happens and it doesn't mean that you're mentally unwell. I felt a little crazy for just a second talking to the psychiatrist the other day when I was getting the new prescription, and she was like doing part of what she's supposed to do as her screening and everything, and she's like, and do you hear voices? And I really had to stop for a second, and I just was like, I do not hear the kinds of voices that you're talking about. I am a spiritual person, I have these kinds of experiences sometimes, but I do not hear the like voices telling you to do the bad things that the like, I don't hear the ones that you're asking about, so it's okay. She was like, all right, got it, cool, moving on. So it's, I understand that they probably deal with, I'm not the only person that they deal with who does this stuff, but it's nice when your mental health professionals can hear you say it and go okay and move on and not make it weird. I really appreciate that. I will say I'm very interested to see, because I did get ADHD meds and I literally just got them today. I got them at like 7 o'clock tonight. So I have not taken them yet, obviously, because I'm all over the place, and also because they're stimulants and I'm not taking them at night because they obviously dead and blah blah blah. Very intrigued to see how this weekend goes, and gonna try and like check in with guides, check in with deities, check in with stuff while having like taken the medication and see how things change. I'm very intrigued to see how that goes, because I'm like, honestly, I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be harder for me to hear, because part of the clear audience that I have is definitely like part of the ADHD sort of intertwined too. Excuse me, like understanding and hearing and like feeling the vibe and like hearing the voice, hearing the words out of like deities and entities and things is almost certainly easier because there's so much going on in my brain all the time. So I'm super curious to see, once I've taken the medication, like, you know, as prescribed and everything, right? Like, I'm super curious to see if/how that affects my abilities, and presumably it wouldn't affect them long term because it's not that kind of medication, but like it'll work. I'm very curious, and I'm excited to see, because I'm like, whatever happens, I need the medication, so we're gonna figure it out. So that might be a little bit of a journey, but we'll see how much of that I end up actually like actively sharing. But that's something that I find intriguing, that I'm excited about and interested in seeing how that goes. So told her Hades, yeah. See, that's the thing. Because like so many of these conversations that we'll have with like a deity or something, it's one of those things, it almost doesn't matter whether or not it actually came from a deity or whether or not you like actually just made it up in your own head and the human psyche is just that crazy and that cool and that capable. Because usually they come out with really good, useful shit regardless. So it doesn't matter if you're really talking to a deity or if you're really talking to yourself. You're having real experiences, and like as spiritual people, we are having real experiences outside of just this conversation you're having in your head with a god or in tarot cards or whatever. However you are having the conversation. If you're a spiritual person, you probably are having some kinds of experiences in your life outside of just these more controlled conversations. So it's like, it doesn't matter to what extent the conversations are this thing or that thing. They're real and they're true, and we're really experiencing it, and they're really like a solid part of our lives. And so it's just, yeah, we love a mental health professional who understands and supports that. And that is my little extra rant over. Whew, Lordy, I'm not out of steam yet, but I can tell I'm starting to get there. Does anybody have any questions before I move on to our little bibliomancy for the week? Anybody? Eh? Take a sip of water. I do feel like the vibe of this live has been a very Hermes vibe of the like the ADHD and the talking fast and the going so fast that I got caught on words and thoughts and things. It is giving Hermes. And I'm going to say this with I'm joking, but just like Hermes, patron saint of ADHD. I swear to God. Anyway. Spiritual journey really went to the next level after my doctor put me on migraine meds. Ooh. Did you see your meds that really messed me up? Yeah, that is interesting because I know, like, and I have other friends who obviously like take medication for their stuff. I had just like briefly touch on how medication stuff affects and doesn't affect. I was on 3 different SSRIs and an NDRI over the course of like 5 years. The last time that I was taking medications, all for like anxiety and depression and stuff, and not focusing on and not realizing that ADHD was a thing that needed to be medicated. And I was able to like figure everything out just fine throughout that entire experience of all of those different medications. So like, I was spiritual before I started any of those medications, and I was in the process of growing my abilities for that like 5-year chunk while I was still taking those medications. Everything was fine. Like, I want to be clear that I am excited and curious about seeing how this stuff comes through and seeing how the medication changes it, and maybe what kinds of like adaptations I might need to make or new tools I might need to use or whatever. I'm excited to find how my journey is going to change while like taking medication and seeing how these things go, because I think that's cool and that's part of it and that's life, and like the medication is important, my spirituality is also important. If they sort of hinder each other a little bit one way or another, like, that's totally fine, and I'm ready and willing to explore that and see how it all works together, because we're here to make the best of both worlds. Ha 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 ha. Hannah Montana, hit the music. Did the best of both worlds. Anyway, so I'm just, it does, like, I do have friends who have said like starting some type of new medication, whatever it may be, did like hinder their abilities for a while, but it's just an adaptation thing. It's just whatever works in the end. That's what you're gonna do. That's what we're gonna go for. It'll be all right. Ooh, ran out of new allergy meds and now the Claire's are blocked. That's so real though. I can like feel what that feels like, because just having that much congestion, if you had relief and having like all that stuff come back, I wouldn't be focused on Claire's. I would just be like, fix the allergies now. Well, I'm glad you got to sit down, Kayla. Okay, yes. Let's do the Babylomancy. Let me grab the book. Yeah. I do. Hold on. I was gonna pick up the Hermes candle and show you a thing that I think is cool, and then I realized that's a lit candle, and I probably shouldn't, with like melted wax and stuff, and I probably shouldn't be like picking it up and moving it around. But it's cool. The Mercury symbol is like cut in half, and it looks like 2 halves of a staff or something. It's cool. I don't know when that got scratched through. Oh, I do. One of the cats knocked the candle over in the middle of the night and just went boom, and just scratched the line straight through the thing. Anyway, that don't matter none right now. Y'all know how this works. Give your general energetic yeah, buddy, that you want to be included in the Bibliomancy, and I shall Bibliomancify, and we'll be all good from there. So yeah, for the next week, what do we need to keep in mind for the next couple days, next week or so, whatever? a slightly different way of finding it than the usual. Cool. Okay. Passage 52. I remember this one. The world has a source, the world's mother. Once you have the mother, you know the children. Once you know the children, return to the mother. Your body dies. There is no danger. Block the passage, bolt the gate, no strain, until your life ends. Open the passage, take charge of things, no relief until your life ends. Seeing the small is called brightness. Maintaining gentleness is called strength. Use this brightness to return to brightness. Don't cling to your body's woes, then you can learn endurance. This one's a crazy one. It always hurts my brain a little bit every time I read it, but I do like this one. The like title on it on the bottom is "Seeing the Small is Called Brightness," so there's your focal point. But yeah, the world has a source, the world's mother. Once you have the mother, you know the children. Once you know the children, return to the mother. Your body dies. There is no danger. Block the passage. Bolt the gate. No strain until your life ends. Open the passage, take charge of things, no relief until your life ends. Seeing the small is called brightness. Maintaining gentleness is called strength. Use this brightness to return to brightness. Don't cling to your body's woes, then you can learn endurance. Yeah! Tell me we talked about Hades without telling me you talked about Hades. Yeah, pretty much. That is very Hadesy. Okay, yes, I am definitely starting to fade now. I'm gonna go take a break. I'm gonna go relax. I'm gonna go chill. I'm gonna pick up this cat in my lap and move to a different spot and put the cat back in my lap, and that's gonna be great. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me. I hope your Thursday was fine. Hope your Friday goes well. Yeah, really appreciate having you guys here and hanging out with me. So, for now, have a good one, everybody. See you next week. Probably. I assume so. Unless the medication really goes bad. But presumably, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.